Hello everyone, welcome back to a new replay cast. Today, in the right side spawning as the red Terran player, we're gonna have Kelazhur, who recently joined a new team, but I can't remember the name. And in the top we have Ragnarok, the Korean Zerg player. Now this game was played in the most recent Olimol League, and Kelazhur is playing from Europe on the Korean server, so that's about 350 ping. So let's try to keep that in mind. Kelazhur right now living in the Netherlands, of course. In my beautiful home country, but that's not what is going to be important here, as we see Kelazhur opening up with a barracks before gas. A couple of overlords making their way across the map through these slow zones, the inhibitor zones I have to call them. This is the generator of them, of course. Can't be killed, don't have any HP, are invulnerable. Nice thing on this map for Zerg is that they can just scout straight away with their first overlord to make sure there is no kind of proxy barracks going on. And there is no kind of proxy barracks going on, so we still have that second overlord heading towards his bottom side of the map, making sure there is no Rex proxied over here. Spots that part, sends it back to his natural to make sure no bunkers will start going up. Imagine there's two barracks over here, you want to be back there with your overlord, just in case that you miss the barracks. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, we have Kelazhur finally starting his command center at the usual time. And the first Reaper is on the way out as well. Gas continues being mined, and this will be for our second depot coming out. Now, Purity and Industry is one of those maps where no one really quite knows what is great on this map or who is favored. A lot of the Zergs don't like it against Terran because of this general area, very, very tight, good for tanks, easy to siege this kind of fort base. You can also, if you don't kill the rocks in time, have some play with the tanks over here and dropping marines on the high ground, or even dropping marines on this high ground. So there's lots of options here for Terran, which Terrans do seem to like. The Reaper timing on this map is insanely fast as well. So you see 222, usually that's gonna arrive at 228, 229 from a barracks first. So very, very fast Reaper timing on this map. We do see 4 links being built, and we'll see if Kelazhur is capable of getting something with the ping that he is playing with. Might be able to pick up a drone or two. No, we'll just get chased away and first tumor will go down. Reaper too bruised at this point to try and jump in for that. Makes his way over to the third base. He's a hatchery there as his command center finishes back at home. Open up with 2 marines, so a delayed reactor. Was a little bit clueless as to what to do here actually. Decides to go for 1 Hellion before switching the factory with the barrack. So a little bit of indecisiveness coming out of Kelazhur here, who seems to be going... This could be either Battle Cruiser or Banshee. We have Ragnarok opening up with Overlord speed. So a couple of Overlords will be able to scout what it will be for Kelazhur over here. We do have that switch finally with the factory and the barracks. Barracks is flying... Oh, I'm not sure where this barracks is going. Oh, will be used actually to clear the Overlord from this high ground. I'm not quite sure if that is going to be successful, as Overlord speed is about to finish as well. So this might be a very time-intensive endeavor here. Overlord speed about to finish in 9 seconds from now. I think this Overlord is just going to make it out, right? 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, if he stutter steps a little better, perhaps he can get it, but no. This Overlord managed to get to the next high ground. And then to another high ground. Meanwhile, we do have the fusion core, so we are going to be seeing that battle cruiser opening here for Kelazhur. A couple of Hellions being built as well, 3 on the map already. What do we have out for our friend Ragnarok? 10 links to deal with those initial Hellions. So a couple of queens on the map as well, 5 queens so far. No lair, instead opening up with that fast baneling nest. Fusion core was spotted, so Ragnarok very aware of exactly what is going down this game. Hellions looking for creep tumors that are a bit over eager to be spread. So here we have the 1 creep tumor. Kelazhur will jump. No, won't jump in. Doesn't want to take too much damage from the Hellions. He might have been able to get that if he would have been a little more precise with his initial click. 4 more Hellions are on the way, as well as an armory. Ooh, this might get spotted though by this Overlord heading straight for the armory. It's like he knows it's there and he just wants the confirmation with the Overlord. Gets the confirmation. And this, of course, this armory will be for Hellbat, so most likely a Hellbat battlecruiser timing coming out of Kelazhur here. Now there's two ways in which you can play it. You can teleport the battlecruiser where the Hellions are, or you can teleport the battlecruiser where the Hellions are. It's pretty obvious. If you teleport them where the Hellions are, your goal is to trade with army units, to trade with queens. Otherwise, your goal is to kill as many workers as you can with that battlecruiser. We see a second spore in the main, so we see a Ragnarok that is very well prepared for any scenario. Queens are all in the front, 2 spores in the main, 1 queen in the main as well. So if the battlecruiser decides to go to that main base, Ragnarok will be able to deal with that. And I kind of like this by Kelazhur. Instead of teleporting across the map immediately, he's gonna poke into the main, and from there teleport most likely towards the 3rd base. So we see a lot of queens actually walking into the main, and once Kelazhur sees 4 queens, most likely will teleport out towards a different base. No, actually just this. Oh wow, that was really close. Decides to teleport home. I thought for sure he was going to be teleporting to a different base and try to do some damage there. Would have worked. It was only a single queen, single spore here. All the queens are out of position. I feel like the moment he saw how many queens there were in the main, could have teleported there, but instead decides not to, teleports it back home. We'll be able to save it, repair it up, and go again once the second battlecruiser is out. Hellions will be able to find this hatchery, take down a creep tumor, and their job here is done. Most likely will be returning home sometime soon, as the 5th and 6th gas are being taken here for Kelazhur. Over on the bottom side is 2 overlords, both bruised, the Bruised Brothers. Similar to the Blues Brothers, but slightly more lame. So we have our second battlecruiser halfway done right now. Spire is over halfway done, so Corruptors most likely will be the answer, as Ragnarok realizes he's playing against a meching Terran.
Base is under attack.
We have the DVA voice pack, I believe that is. A bunch of Hellions just roaming around, trying to get some damage on, just trying to deny creep and keep Ragnarok in general on his feet. 6 Mutas instead of Corruptors. Usually we only really see Mutas against the single battlecruiser stuff, but lately, especially from within Korea, we've seen a lot of big Muta plays against mech. I think Kelazhur against Su was one of those games at the Stay-at-Home Story Cup where we saw Su take on a lot of Thors with his Mutas actually and managing to win as well. So if you micro that correctly, you can be able to win that. Of course, against battlecruiser, it is a little bit dangerous as battlecruisers have very high DPS and they're quite tanky. And first Muta already goes down against these 2 battlecruisers. There's 2 teleports available. There's no Yamato, so that's nice for Ragnarok, who will be able to at least save 2 extra Mutas in that case. Otherwise, oh, actually almost no micro coming out of Ragnarok. Just loses another Mutalisk here. Did a lot of Hellions just go down, and did I miss it? Yes, 11 Hellions did end up going down for 4 drones, a couple of links. New Hellion squad is moving out. Blue Flame Hellion is, well, halfway done right now. As the battlecruisers decide to go back in, get a couple of drones once again. Muta's jumping on top of these battlecruisers right now. Might be able to teleport out. Yes, back to safety. There is a turret at every base, I do believe. At least a single turret at every base. No, not at the natural. Big run by going into the natural base right now. Tanks shutting away at a lot of these links already. Not sure if that's going to be enough though, as the Hellions are returning back home. Links will be able to get 10, 12, 13 workers most likely. Yeah, get 1 more, so 14 workers do go down. Definitely a worthwhile trade here for Ragnarok, who continues building Mutalisk. You have +1 attack. Over halfway done at this point. The barracks still spotting this general area in the middle of the map. Mutalisk trying to hit that 3rd base, might be able to get a depot. I would love to see Yamato being researched. It basically means you get a free kill on an important unit that you want to kill every minute and a half or so. So never quite sure that if you get more than 1 battlecruiser, I think you should almost always get that Yamato cannon. 4th command center is landing here for Kelazhur, who is he's been doing stuff. He's not been idling, so I'm just sitting idle. Getting a couple of Thors out right now. Stay walk down this ramp. Thor's extremely slow, of course. Beautiful walk. Look a bit stupid, very powerful. Big Muta count right now for Ragnarok already with the 70 Mutas. 3 Thors are ready. Do kill 1 Muta with the first shot. 2 tanks are about to fall though. 3 tanks are about to fall, so very good trade here for Ragnarok, who lost 2 Mutalisk against 4 tanks, and that might make any kind of Ling Bane play a lot more viable if he wants to become aggressive with this army. Sniping tanks is very important for that, of course. Now we do see a couple of tanks being rebuilt. Drilling claws starting as well, so a couple of mines might get added to this composition. No sensor towers yet, but the first sensor tower is being started at the planetary fortress right now. There still is, well, there's 22 mutas right now actually, 7 more being produced. There is a bunch of turrets at this base. There's still only a single turret here. I wouldn't mind, yes, okay, this is good. So the main spot here for Kelazhur is going to be that third base, as he flies his 2 battlecruisers in. We'll just teleport back straight away. This is a wasteful way to go around, both with your teleport and your repair. Of course, you will still need to pay for that repair cost. Now we do have a bunch of turrets here, like I mentioned before. 2 more command centers going down, as we have Thor shooting from a distance. I love these mines to just be burrowed at kind of random locations around the map, or maybe even here, like build a fake turret kind of over here and build a couple of get a couple of mines burrowed next to it. Of course, it is expensive if you lose them, but it's always fun if you do get the big hits on that muta flock. Usually they fly in quite a clumped way, as they're looking for any kind of damage that they can get. Overseers now join up with them. A wise decision here by Ragnarok, who doesn't want to be caught by those mines. Kelazhur feeling a little bit frisky though. Is there enough mines in this army? I'm not quite sure. There's 7 mines right now. 3 will trigger almost immediately. I don't think Kelazhur can quite move on the map. He has a lot of workers as well. There's still some army in those factories, but if you don't have enough mines or enough tanks with this kind of push, you're just kind of gonna get owned by the Ling Bane, I feel like. Muta's still trying to do some damage. Do find a tank for their efforts. Do manage to chase these Mutalisks away. Couple of depots might get killed here. No. Ragnarok has bigger plans in mind, as he will be heading towards this command center. This command center is falling relatively quick. This is of course a lot of mutas. You see 17 mutas with +1. Big repair coming out here for Kelazhur, who is trying to go for some kind of Thor flank. Thors are coming in. 11 workers have gone down for Kelazhur though. Oh, big bait here with the Overseers. Overseers bait away the Thor shots. So they save the mutas. Battlecruisers on the other side of the map realize the mutas are attacking, so it's playtime for them now as well. However, after the mutas kill that command center, they're like, oh, we can just kind of come back home. You know, we have +2 flyer attack soon, and we will be able to clean up these battlecruisers. Battlecruisers do need to be careful. Teleport home just in time, as flyer attacks +2 does finish up right now. First 3 Vipers are on the way as well, so there's an Ultralisk Cavern that just finished with shit in its plating. 5th base floating. What are these guys? This is a hell of an orgy. Look at this. This can't be intentional, right? I've never seen something like this before. As the mutas continue their reign of terror into the main base. Well, look at the unit lost up, still relatively even, but I think Kelazhur has just been getting outmined. Now finally that base without the turret is getting hit. Armories are actually getting killed here. Plus the mutas doing a lot of damage on those armories. Yeah, will deny the ship weapons and the vehicle plating. Another 12 SCVs are going down right here. That's a lot of mines right there. There's a lot of changelings there. So Ragnarok gets baited into one of the mines at least. A couple of changelings will be able to spot there, but 19 workers did end up going down here. Kelazhur's economy isn't looking all that hot anymore all of a sudden. Bunch of turrets here at that 5th base, but 5th base still... What are these stores doing? And these stores have been too late to every party. These are these guys, you send them an invitation for a party the 5th of April. They show up the 7th at the incorrect time. Like, absolutely no clue when to be where. So there is a lot of Thors, but they never really seem to find a Mutalisk. Bunch of turrets will be able to most likely deal with this Mutalisk. This mineral line is kinda empty though. There's only a single turret that can reach, and if Ragnarok micros correctly, like, nice that you have 5 turrets, but they're not covering the most important part. That's the mineral line on the bottom side of the map. So it does lose 4 SCVs, a lot of Mews, which will deny more mining here for Kelazhur, who's falling painfully far behind right now in that overall bank. Income is a lot lower as well. Mutas do end up going down. Greater Spire starts. Burrow as well as the Pathogen Glands for increased starting energy for the investors. And there's a lot of Banelings. 58 Banelings, 3 Vipers. A couple of Ultras on the way as well. What are the upgrades? We see 3-3-1 here for Ragnarok against just a 3-1 for Kelazhur, because of course his armories got denied earlier. Now Kelazhur is feeling frisky. He's moving on the map right now. But even if he manages to take a good trade, he's gonna need to take more than one good trade. He has an army that is capable of taking good trades, but I mean, there's so many banelings here. Oof, gotta be careful against those blue flame Hellions, but yeah, there's so much money in the bank right now for Ragnarok that I'm a little bit afraid for him. He is slightly behind in unit lost, but if you look at the bank, you wouldn't really think that. Now, the one thing that Kelazhur does have going for him is that his army is slightly bigger. Of course, he's up 20 army supply, a lot of drones on the map for Ragnarok. And once this army gets sieged with those siege tanks, with those stores, a couple of battlecruisers there, as long as there's no neural, this can be a very dangerous army to deal with for the Zerg player. Kelazhur taking it slow, scanning, moving forward, even getting some turrets with his army, making sure these tanks in the back are well defended. Big baneling run by. Ends up clearing this 5th base. We'll start heading into the 4th base as well. A couple of banelings splitting up to go for those Hellions. It's a relatively action-packed game for... Whoa! Oh my god, 28 workers go down. So 47 workers remaining for Kelazhur. And now he has 2 decisions. Well, there's a couple of decisions, but the main decisions are: do I rebuild my SCV count, go for the longer game, or at this point do I kind of give up on the late game plan and I just max out with a really big army and hope to take a fantastic fight? Kelazhur seems to be rebuilding his worker count. He's adding a couple more starports here, so might be transitioning into either Liberator range or more battlecruisers. We'll have to see. +3 flyer attacks are on the way right now. Neural Parasite completes. How many infestors is there on the map? Not a single one yet, but there's so much money in the bank that perhaps the next army that Ragnarok will be building will consist of more of those infestors. So we have a battlecruiser teleporting back home, back to safety. This teleporter, this battlecruiser has been alive for a very long time, of course. 16 kills on it in total. A lot of that most likely will be drones. Take a look at the unit lost tab now. At this point, Kelazhur actually is behind in unit lost. He's behind in economy and has been behind in economy all game. His stack is worse, his upgrades are worse. This is looking very, very rough for our Terran player. Now, usually when you see this upgrade, the Microbial Shroud, you know Zerg just has too much money because no one really uses that upgrade. We have 5 extra hatcheries just for saving up extra larvae, so where are all these hatcheries? Well, all in the main base. Might want to inject that with a queen a couple of times as well, as you see a Hellion run by onto this 9th base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually 9th base. Island base still not taken by either player. We see Hyperflight rotors as well as the Cyclone increased missile speed being upgraded here. And finally the Liberators are in production as well as advanced ballistics. So a lot of upgrades coming in here for Kelazhur, who kind of did a bit of both, you know. He continued building a couple of workers. He went back up to 57, but now has an absolutely massive army consisting of 14 Thors, 8 tanks, 1 battlecruiser, and I saw 6 Liberators on the way. A couple of mines sprinkled in here and there, and I honestly am having trouble seeing how Ragnarok will deal with this army, as this army is just way too big for Ragnarok to deal with. He's gonna need more than one fight. That much is obvious to me. Of course, he can poke at him with these Vipers, try to pull in a Thor here and there, maybe try for a Blinding Cloud on top of these Thors, but I mean, his army is just 40 supplies smaller. A lot of the upgrades are completing right now for Kelazhur, so he's just gonna have a bigger army, he's gonna have a good army, and if they're not fighting on creep, I'm a little bit afraid for Ragnarok here, honestly. And even though, yes, of course, he has a massive bank, you can take really bad fights against mech. I've seen fights where 10, 20 supply for the Terran gets lost. Terran's almost always going to be trading kind of well with this kind of army if you're this far up in army supply. Big siege ups here with a lot of the tanks, all kind of clumped though. Blinding Cloud will be able to play a big role into this fight. Thor's all clumped, get hit by the banelings. Unit loss-wise, this was a very good fight here for Kelazhur, who is also still up in supply. Corruptors now coming in, trying to target down a couple of those Liberators. 10 more Ultras are on the way. Kelazhur actually pulling up ahead in the unit loss tab at this point. So that's a very powerful thing for him. The only problem I see for him is that he doesn't really have a bank and he can't max out. As long as he's making these trade and he can max out immediately again, that's kind of fine, right? Like you don't really care too much that you don't have a bank as long as you can max out. Like obviously you ideally do have a bank, and it sucks that your opponent is mining out the gold, which together with the island base is kind of like the neutral base, right? The person who gets the gold and the island base, or you know, either or, like that's a big deal. Like that's something you would want. Kelazhur is moving forward towards that bottom side. He's kind of skipping those two bases. He's like, you know what? I think I can get these bases later on. They're like certainties, right? What I need to do right now is I need to start attacking this base, because this is a base that is for both players. Both players can grab that. Ragnarok can never take this base. The moment Ragnarok can take this base, it's time for Kelazhur to leave, right? Then he has absolutely no map control. A couple of scans coming out of Kelazhur will be able to see that there's a lot of larva. 121 larva, of course, including all of these extra hatcheries, which have been producing larva. So a quick remix is possible. Here comes an attack by Ragnarok. No, decides to move back out. He's gotta feel the hot breath of Kelazhur in his neck a little bit now. This area is a bit scary. We see a sensor tower there. We have a big army on this side as well. Mines doing some damage. No planetary on this side, as we see Ragnarok moving in. Couple of parasitic bombs being cast on top of those liberators, which will fall very rapidly right now. Oh, pretty decent fight for Ragnarok, I guess. Still has a 13k, 4k bank. Sometimes it's difficult to see if the Terran is dying a very slow and painful death, or if he actually believes he can still take a good fight. And with mech, you can always take a good fight it happens, you know. The Zerg player doesn't pay proper attention to his army, and bam, there's 10, 15 tanks, couple of Thors. The fight can turn around real fast, and Kelazhur is pushing towards this gold base. There's a lot of mules here. How many orbitals do we have? We have 7 orbital commands, so that's a very high orbital count. Will be very dangerous here, as his worker count can be a lot lower than Ragnarok's and still keep very high economy. I'd love to see a Nidus or just a drop on this base from Ragnarok to just start mining at least the gases a little bit. Because he's plenty of minerals at this point, but getting some extra gas from one of these neutral bases would be massive. I'm not quite sure why he isn't mining gas from this base either, just mining the minerals. Not a big fan of that. As once again we have another attack coming out of Ragnarok here, moving into a couple of Thors. I will be able to get a good trade here. I do believe planetary here falls to these ultras as well. These ultras will end up falling, so not the most worthwhile trade here by Ragnarok. But I mean, with 17k, 4k in the bank, you tend to get a little bit more sloppy at times. What's the army compositions looking like right now? We have 11 Thors, 7 tanks and 3 liberators against 6 ultras, 38 banes that are on the way, 1 viper and 6 infestors. Where are those infestors? I have not seen them in action yet. It's just been chilling over here in the back, all full energy. Haven't really contributed to the fight at all. This bottom base now gets taken out, and this gas hasn't been mined yet. Units lost actually is in favor of Kelazhur, and no matter how much money you have in the bank, if your opponent eventually also gets that money, that's not a good thing. I can tell you that much. We do have another attack here from Ragnarok going into all of these tanks and these Thors. This doesn't seem to be the best fight here, as Ragnarok rapidly dropping in supply. Of course, Kelazhur does not really have the funds to remax on this army, but that was kind of an awful fight there. 13 more ultras being rebuilt. 1 more ultra decides to give his life for the swarm. Just takes a couple of hits, decides, you know what, perhaps not quite worth it, this swarm thing. Infestors decide to finally join the fight. So, alright, I still had 6 infestors as well. The kind of moment that it feels like. A couple of Thors will be able to chase this away. I don't think this should be enough to kill this command center. As well, corruptors are falling extremely fast. I mean, cancelling a command center for 6-7 corruptors. This is all kind of worth it in the short run, right? Because Kelazhur really needs those extra bases, but in the long run those are bad trades, and if your opponent has more minerals available to him, which I'm afraid Kelazhur might have, because he's going to be able to take this base, and eventually I think the island is also going to be for Kelazhur, so if you're down 7k and the complete map gets mined out, then yeah, you're just going to lose the game, as the infestors are moving forward right now. This will be the first time Kelazhur will be made aware of those. A couple of tanks being neural immediately. Liberators are slightly out of range of these infestors. No, couple of infestors are going. And there's another awful fight here for Ragnarok, who feels like he's just losing fight after fight. Another 3-4k downing unit lost. And yes, this this feels fine because he has such a massive bank, but his gas bank is actually running out at this point. There's only 1700 left. He hasn't been mining those extra gases here. How many gases are still available for Ragnarok at this point? We see these gases mined out. These gases are mined out. So we still have about 4k gas in these two. This is mined out. And then there is 4k gas here. So there's 8k more gas on the map here for Ragnarok. And that's all he's going to be able to get. Unless he managed to get this base up again. Which he desperately does need at this point. Kelazhur on there. And he's buzzing, right? Like he still some gases here. Still has the potential of these. Still has a full gas here. Rich geyser here. Still has 2 geysers here. Still mining from here as well. He still has 12, 13k of gas available to him. There's another big ling run by, and I do like the ling run bys because there's so many minerals right now. So if you can trade out those links for any kind of gas units or just any kind of units from Kelazhur at this point, that's definitely going to be worth it for Ragnarok, who still has that lead in the bank. He's a way bigger bank, and Kelazhur is struggling to max out every single time after those fights. Problem is, the more of these bad fights are going to take being Ragnarok, you might start to struggle in the late game. Big Widow Mine does hit a lot of those banelings. This base will most likely fall. But the SCV's getting pulled away, and loses another command center, which is annoying because actually that was one of the final mining bases with actual minerals. We have a base over here for Kelazhur. We have the command center going up over in this area, but I mean, there's still a lot of command centers that are orbital commands, but you don't really want to build an orbital command. You might just lose it to a Ling run by or Ling Baneling run by. Could be very difficult. Kelazhur scanning this base, realizing, okay, I need to do something about that. I wouldn't mind just seeing a couple of Hellions going that way. One Liberator will do the job as well, of course. Is there still Corruptors on the map? 6 Corruptors are still here. Slightly out of position. Will take some time till they get to the bottom side. As the Liberator is moving forward. A couple of Spine Crawlers being built, but that is the wrong structure to deal with these Liberators. A couple of Ravagers might be able to pile just on top of this Liberator. Do get it. Liberator falls after killing a drone and a half. Maybe got a larva as well. Another Liberator being sent out to do the same job. Because we have a massive Ling run by. Planetary over here doesn't... Ooh, that's a lot of tanks right here. That's a lot of tanks right here. And they're all sieged up. Liberators will be able to help out. A lot of the tanks are falling, but the Lings also went down. So, not quite sure in favor of who that was. The Lings do get cleaned up. Relatively even trade, it feels like. With Kelazhur just barely holding on. Liberator doing a lot of damage on this base though. 10 workers going down. I'd love if you just unsiege this Liberator at this point. It's done its job. It can just return back home. Losing that Liberator for killing 2 more larvae is usually not quite worth it. This bottom base is being taken again by Kelazhur. This rich gas, which is going to be important. As we see, Kelazhur's gas count is very low at this point as well. And the longer these gases mine, the worse it gets for Kelazhur, because this really is the limiting factor right now for Ragnarok, who's trying another Ling run by. Hellions this time will be able to deal with this, and this might be a little bit of an expensive expedition here for Ragnarok, who will be able to take a tank down. And Kelazhur not paying attention with these Hellions at all. Not quite sure what he was paying attention to, as these Lings are getting way more damage done than they ever should have, I feel like. 20 workers are going down. Down to 40 workers right now, Kelazhur is. 8 workers being produced at the same time. And of course, with those 7 orbital commands, 8 orbital commands at this point. I mean, he will be able to quickly reproduce and mule, but Swarm Host being built. That's quite an interesting transition here, because Swarm Hosts don't actually fight too well if you have a very active army from Kelazhur. One infestor living on the edge, I have to admit. One scan and that bad boy dies. We have another run by, this time with the Ultras. Can't really defend 9 Ultras with 4 Hellions, like you can do with 120 Lings. Ultras will be able to clean up this base, but this base is pretty useless. Unless they manage to get into the main base, I am afraid that this is kind of useless, honestly. It's nice to get, try to get some attention away. I love that this is happening. This should have happened a long time ago, this island base being taken. We do finally have these Ultras in the main base, so now it might be getting worth it. Couple of tanks being pumped out. Ultras ignoring the tanks ignoring the Ultras. A little bit of a weird fight right there. So we see 7 more drones falling, and at this point Ragnarok's army is growing bigger and bigger. His gas count still is relatively healthy, but he isn't even close to being maxed at this point. does need to be a little careful. And a lot of his army is not really a fighting army, right? This is an army that does well over time, but I mean, if you're not maxed and you basically only have Swarmos Ravager, you could be walking into some very bad fights, and you can't really remax on anything else anymore at this point. All of those ultras that were harassing, I mean, they did some damage, killed a starport here and there, but how important is it really? It's not like the thing that Kelazhur is lacking is production. Like, none of these buildings are actually building anything, so I feel like those were just 9 ultras wasted. We still see Kelazhur 10k ahead in resources lost. Still have a lot of bases that are easy to defend at this point. I'd love if we just keep mining them. Instead, he is moving forward. Couple of good biles going down. Oh, that was painful. Very painful here for Kelazhur, who I guess in some way forced out a swarm host wave. Will try to move forward right now. Gets completely biled to death. I have a feeling Kelazhur is kind of marching towards his death at this point. 24 banelings are on the way, and he's not really achieving anything with this either, because this base is already mined out. All Kelazhur really needs to do is defend at this point, it feels like, and deal with this top right base and try to get this bottom left base. If he achieves those 2 goals, like, he will be able to win. I think this push out might not be the wisest. Let's try to finish it. 2 more command centers are on the way. Bottom base does get taken out once again by a Ling Bane run by, but gas is running dry once again for Ragnarok, who has started mining this top base. He is once again forcing a lift here, getting a lot of SCVs down. But if you lose a lot of banelings every time to kill a planetary, it's not quite worth it, as you can see in the unit lost. Like, it really delays the mining of the Terran, but I'm really afraid for Ragnarok now. This is all game long. Kelazhur has actually been kind of far behind, but at this point, he's not that far behind anymore. All it requires is one good fight here for Kelazhur, and you might win this. And before, he always needed at least 2 fights, sometimes even 3 fights with the bank that Ragnarok had. Good scan by Kelazhur, does see this coming, doesn't actually unsiege these Liberators. Big mistake there, will lose a lot for that. Very sloppy play there. We still have this Infestor. It's not even behind enemy lines, this is within enemy lines. It's like a spy, he's just in there. A couple of tanks sieging up, does provide very valuable vision as well. It's not just that he's there to perhaps neural something, but actually provides extremely important vision to help those battles. Swarmos once again coming in, will be able to get some damage done most likely. Every time, of course, you get one of those waves, you will be able to get some damage done. This might just... will this kill? There is 333 upgrades, planetary does go down, and this is the free damage that Ragnarok has been missing all game long. Locusts, of course, don't cost any money. These biles don't cost any money. A couple of Ravagers do end up falling, but yeah, Kelazhur in a little bit of trouble. Should probably start thinking about trying to do some kind of push, because it feels like the longer he stays here at this point, the more he's going to be dying. Biles once again coming in from the low ground. A lot of tanks falling. Liberators dying to this Corruptors as well. A lot of good biles coming down again. Are these Swarmos almost shoot ready? Yes, they are. And this wave is going to be a very, very pivotal one here. Because I think this is going to be it for Kelazhur. If he can't do a counterattack after this wave, I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Wave does get cleaned up relatively easy. Only loses a single Thor for this instead of the base and a couple of units. A lot of biles raining down. 2 Thors getting killed. A lot of Thors getting lower in health as well, so... not the greatest of fights there for Kelazhur, who starts to run low on gas. Still has this rich Vespene geyser, but at this point, I mean, this bottom left base, this top right base are becoming real threats here for Kelazhur, who... I mean, he's still ahead in unit lost, but I'm starting to believe he won't actually be able to see the end of this game. I don't think he'll be able to mine out his side of the map, and even if he will, like, there's these 2 extra bases that Ragnarok has been mining from for a very long time. The gases are running half empty at this point. Minerals are being depleted, especially at the gold base. We have another swarm host wave that is killing units, and the income for Kelazhur just isn't enough. There's a lot of mules here, but there's just no army as these Thors are going down against the Ravagers. Links around, not enough Hellions to keep those away right now. And the Roaches get a lot of Thor kills. I'm afraid that this might actually be it for Kelazhur, as 12 mules rain down from the sky. To give that income a little bit of a boost. For the first time in a long time, Kelazhur actually going to be using the majority of his production, I believe. I mean, he is flooding 2k minerals at this point. Corruptors coming in once again will be able to snipe this Liberator, and here comes what I believe to be the final wave. As Ragnarok marches forward, Locusts come down, rain down from the sky together with the Biles, and with the Thors falling, this base falling, the complete bottom side is breached right now. This looks very, very dangerous here for Kelazhur. GG gets called, and Ragnarok wins this 35-minute game on Purity and Industry, where for long times he felt very far ahead, and towards the end it actually started looking scary until the Swarmos Bile combination just completely put a stop to the plans that Kelazhur had. So good job there by Ragnarok. Now if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel here, like the video, leave a comment down below what kind of series you want to see in the future. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you all next time. Bye bye.